I don't know exactly what I made in this video, and I don't know if I like it or if it's the most cursed thing I've ever seen. But basically, I made my logo, the Polygon Island logo, realistic. The Polygon Island logo originated from when I used to do low poly time lapses, and it was my tropical island render that really started off this whole Polygon Island channel thing. So basically, the first thing I did was just load up the project. I had to find where it was. I didn't know where it was on my computer, but eventually I found it. You can see Wilson from Castaway is there, but looking at it, you can see that it looks exactly how it does on my channel art. Yeah, it looks exactly the same. I don't know why it would look any different, but the first thing I had to do was actually get some textures. So I knew the first texture I needed to get was this like sand type texture, because if you didn't know, the island itself is made out of sand. So after downloading the sand texture, I basically opened it and extracted it. Then I found this bark texture, did the exact same thing with it. The bark texture I wanted because I wanted the tree to be realistic. Obviously, I can't have this realistic island render without the tree being realistic. So I basically just extracted this to a random folder on my desktop. And then once I did that, I realized something, that I needed leaves. And so I basically got some leaves off of, I got all these textures off of CC0 Textures, by the way. It's in the description, they're free texture website and stuff like that. But I got these like palm tree things, and then I went on to this wooden plank material that I would use for the barrels. So I just did the exact same thing, no surprise there. Exact same thing basically to whatever whatever I did with the other ones, which is extract them. And then I basically just went back into my project. I tried to use the Control-Shift-T shortcut for Node Wrangler, but Blender said, hey, I don't like you, we're not going to do that here. We don't do that here. So I had to painstakingly Control-T and manually texture everything on my own. So you can see right here, I'm connecting a displacement node to the displacement of the material output. And if we, I made sure that there was enough topology, which there was, and I just like changed it to experimental because I was gonna do micro displacements. It didn't work, by the way, but I basically just did that because I was trying to mess around with displacement to make it a little bit better. But you can see it kind of just pushed the island way off into the distance, which wasn't really handy dandy. So I just basically adjusted some settings and did all that cool stuff. So once I got done with that, I basically went to my UV settings and then just scaled the vertices up so the texture would kind of be a little bit smaller on the mesh, so it wouldn't look like the sand is just extremely big. And with the water, I knew I wanted to make the water a little bit more realistic, but I didn't know exactly what to do. So I just settled on basically just moving it because it was like above the sand for some reason. I'm not sure why. And there was this little part right here that kept sticking out, and I wasn't very fond of that. So I just kind of put that down, and then bada bing, bada boom, there we go. And I basically just disabled the triangulate modifier on it, and I gave it a subdivision surface to kind of make it a little bit smoother so the water didn't have that low poly effect that it had in the original render. Now here I'm just texturing the tree. I'm using the bark texture. I came to realize that I didn't like this bark texture. It wasn't very nice, so later in the video I changed it, but yeah, right now I'm just texturing it, putting the original bark texture that I was going to use on it, which is pretty cool. But you can see how it looks so far, and then I realized like the little lines in between were still there, so I just removed those, and I started UV unwrapping it because the texture was too stretched on the tree. So I just UV unwrapped it here. Basically it's kind of self-explanatory. It was on the wrong image, so I just switched the image viewer to the actual bark texture. Just scaled it up, and I'm pretty sure right here I just scale it out a little bit. I might have, I don't know. But then I basically tried to remesh the island itself so I could use displacements, because I was still trying to do that. It didn't work, as you can see very clearly. That did not work at all. I don't know why that happened. I don't know why that happened at all, actually. But it happened. And then I tried to voxel remesh it. That didn't work either, so I just moved on. And then here we're texturing the barrels. Now the barrels are single-handedly the best part of this entire render because they're barrels. I mean, what else do you want? They're barrels. So yeah, I basically was on my second window downloading some more textures, but once I put the wood plank material on, I basically just went to my UV unwrap settings, made it a lot thicker, a lot rounder, just a lot more attractive to the male subjects in general. But yeah, I'm pretty sure here I was pretty good. Then I changed like the black plasticky look of the barrels to this like metallic material, which I'm pretty sure looks a lot better. I think it looks a lot better anyway. So here I'm just texturing the rocks. The rocks, they didn't really require a lot because they weren't like really big focus objects. I was able to just get away with the roughness, albedo, and normal maps. I didn't really have to use any UV editing or anything to make the rocks look decent. The rocks looked pretty good how they were, so I just pretty much left them at that. And then here I start trying to texture the palm fronds of the palm tree that's in the middle of it. And at the beginning I downloaded those like palm frond pine tree leaf thingies, and eventually I was trying to use those, but the transparency just didn't work. I might just be really stupid because I haven't used transparent textures in a long time and I didn't feel like looking it up, but I tried to connect the color ramp to the factor of the mix shader and then just try to crush the blacks, but that didn't work at all. It just made it less transparent. And then I tried to crush the whites and that just made it completely transparent and green, which I didn't like. So I wound up just going to Google Images here in a second and just looking up like tropical leaves, and eventually I settled on this one right here, and I just downloaded it, saved it in my downloads folder, and I just basically went back into Blender, changed the texture out for the new palm frond material, and this works a lot better. It's still black around the edges right now, so I added another color ramp, tried to crush the blacks, but that didn't work, and I crushed the whites. Now this worked, kind of. I don't really know. I'm just really bad with transparent textures. It was completely transparent from some angles and then opaque from other angles, and if you use a light background, it's just not. It's just really transparent. But here's where I'm replacing the bark material. I just downloaded this new bark material, and then just did the exact same thing I do with all my other materials, and then just like exported it. WinRAR proceeds to tell me that I need to purchase its full version, which I never do. But I basically just like changed the bark material out for this new bark material, and I'm just checking it out right here. And right here is when I start playing with the lighting. I wanted to change the lighting because at first I just had area lights and stuff, but I added the sky texture to the environment, and I'm trying to find the film tab right here because I just couldn't find it for some reason. But eventually I do find the film tab and then turn transparency off, and you can see that we're looking into the endless black void under the island, which I didn't like, so I turned transparency back on. And that was basically that. I added a few more things. I just basically made sure everything looked good, and I just added some more camera angles and then rendered out the final image. So that's basically how I made my logo realistic. I don't know if it's cursed. I don't know if it looks good. Leave your opinions in the comments below, I guess. But thanks guys so much for watching. My name is Michael from Polygon Island, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.